Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. We're on Hadith 73, Babu Fadl al-Ilm, the chapter about the virtue of knowledge. Fadl, the word Fadl, means extra or more than what is necessary or needed, right? So if somebody has an amount of money that will only provide them with food for the day, right? That's not called fadl, right? That's just called need. Anything above that, that's fadl. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Wallahu dhu fadlil azim, Allah is the one who has great fadl. What that means is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving more than what you need to get by, right? And when you ask Allah from His fadl, what you are asking for is Allah to give you more than simply what you need, right? Or maybe even more than what you deserve, because it could be understood that way as well. So you'll find throughout Hadith, books of Hadith, chapters that have the word fadl or fada'il. Fada'il is just plural of fadl, like the fada'il of Abu Bakr, the virtues of Abu Bakr. What does that mean? It means the characteristics, the attributes of Abu Bakr that go beyond what is obligatory. You pray five times a day. If you pray 5 times a day, you're not doing any fadl. But if you do the sunan, now you're entering into the realm of fadl. Why? Because you are doing more than what is expected of you, what is necessary for you to, protect yourself from punishment or hellfire, right? So fadl al-ilm, the virtue of knowledge, essentially saying that seeking knowledge will open doors of more for you. Right? You are going above and beyond what is necessary, right, from you or of you, and you're now entering the realm of the extras, which to the human mind is very encouraging. Right? When we know that we always want more. That's just human nature. So the way it's being presented to us is that when you seek knowledge, you get more. Right? This is advertising, marketing. This is what they use. Oh, you want more. You could get more for your buck. You could get more for your dollar. You could get more savings. More. That's just human nature, right? We'll always be this way. And, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the Prophet or Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, is presenting it this way. In knowledge is more for you, right? So, عن ابن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنهما قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول بين أنا نائم أوتيت بقدح لبن فشربت حتى إني لأرى الري يخرج في أظفاري ثم أعطيت فضلي عمر بن الخطاب قالوا فما أولته يا رسول الله قال العلم. So in this hadith, Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma says that he heard the Prophet ﷺ describe a dream that he saw to those who are sitting. The Prophet ﷺ says that when I was dreaming, I saw that I was given a vessel, a container full of milk, right, full of milk. And I drank from it. And I drank so much from it that it started to come out of me. Like the milk started to come out of his fingers, his fingernails, alayhi salatu wassalam. So he gave the extra milk to Umar. Right? So this is Ibn Umar hearing this about his father. So they asked the Prophet ﷺ, what did you understand this to mean? Well, how did you interpret this dream? He said knowledge. Knowledge, right? What the Prophet ﷺ was drinking, milk, is analogous to knowledge. And what he gave Umar was knowledge, right? So it begs the question, what is the relationship between milk and knowledge? Because remember, I think I've already gone over this with you. Maybe I haven't, I forgot. But dreams, when you see a true dream from Allah, not every dream you see has meaning. Some are from the shaitan, some are from your own subconscious, right? And some are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you see a true dream from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, essentially what's happening is you're being presented with symbols. What you see is symbolizing something else, right? So milk is symbolic of knowledge. Why? Well, what is milk to the human being?
Nourishment.
Right? Nourishment, especially one in infancy and older age. Right? In older age, when the bones start to get weaker, you need that milk for the extra calcium. right? To strengthen the bones, whatever the science behind it is. For the child is developing very, very quickly, right? And the milk, what the mother provides the child is made from her own blood, right? It's made from her blood. So the child is being nourished by literally that person. And this is why when a child, an infant, nurses from another woman, she becomes a symbolic mother. And rulings in terms of nikah apply in that regard. Why? Because this child is now, his or her body is absorbing the blood of that woman and now taking on some of her characteristics, some of her genes. Right? So milk is essential to the growth of the human being, to the nourishment of the human being. Knowledge is the same. Knowledge is the same. Knowledge to the human mind, to the human soul, is equivalent to milk to the body, right? And you notice this when you go to parts of the world where education is not as accessible. And I don't mean this and putting anyone down or anything like that, just to compare and to contrast. People who neglect knowledge, who neglect information. And what I mean by knowledge, I don't mean school exclusively. Some people gain knowledge through experience. Some people are wise, incredibly wise, but they don't have a high school degree. They're wise because of their experience, right? So I don't mean knowledge in terms of reading a book and that's it. Knowledge can come through experience, through mentorship, through learning from one's parents, whatever it is. But when you compare and contrast a person who has knowledge or has an amount of mental development versus somebody who completely neglected that, it's clear, right? It's clear. And this has nothing to do with technological sophistication. The prophets who were sent to their people and were rejected by their people, whether that's Ad or Thamud or Madian or the people of Lut, these weren't underdeveloped societies. These were sophisticated societies, technologically speaking, right? Allah sent prophets to cities that had an amount of development. The people of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when you look at the story and what happened with him as a child, it is clear that this is a stable, functioning society. There are courts, there are judges, there's expectations, there's law, there's punitive measures and all of this. This is a civilization right here. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will describe them as what? Jahilin. Right? Because the way they behave shows a lack of development, mentally speaking, because they worship other than Allah. And that's just nonsense. Right? I just want to make that clear here. So this is the relationship between milk and knowledge. And so in a dream, if you see yourself drinking milk, then that's referring to knowledge. And how much you drink is symbolic to how much you will learn. And the taste of the milk, right, is also, it has a meaning. If it tastes very sweet, very good, it's very nourishing, it's very pleasant, that means the knowledge you're taking in is good. But if the milk that you're drinking is sour, it's spoiled, that means the knowledge you're taking in is harmful, right? So be aware of that as well. Also, milk in dreams can represent or can be symbolic to the fitrah. Because in Isra al-Mi'raj, the Prophet ﷺ was presented with two cups, one with alcohol and one with milk. And he was given the choice, which are you going to choose? And the Prophet looked at Jibreel and got his advice, and Jibreel said, take the milk. So he got the milk, he drank it. And he was told then, alayhi salatu wasalam, that had you drunk from the alcohol, your ummah, your nation would have gone astray. So milk is also symbolic to the fitrah, because a child is born on the fitrah, and its nourishment is milk. So milk can also mean the fitrah. So if somebody has spoiled milk, it means their fitrah is off. If it's sweet, it could be that the fitrah is intact. Wallahu ta'ala alam. So what we take from this in terms of the hadith, or at least what Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala wants us to take away from this, is that knowledge is incredibly important. Just like today we are becoming increasingly conscious and sensitive in terms of what we put in our bodies, in terms of food. Right? The whole organic stuff, the keto, I know there's always these diet fads, right? But people are becoming increasingly conscious of the ingredients they put in their body. I mean, there are YouTube channels, there are social media channels that are 5 million plus followers, right? that are just purely going to the market and showing you what's a good product, what's a bad product. So people want this. Why? Well, I care about my body. Okay? And someone told me that what you put in your body in your 20s affects you in your 30s. What you put in your body in your 30s affects you in your 40s. In your 40s, and your 50s, etc. So this means something. Right? So just like we are very conscious and want to make sure that what we put in our body is healthy and good for us, well, the same thing in terms of the information we put in our minds. We want to develop our bodies. That means knowledge. And that means we want knowledge and information that's beneficial to us, because there's knowledge and information that's harmful to us. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ seeks refuge from knowledge that's not beneficial. أعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع. The Prophet ﷺ sought refuge and teaches us to seek refuge from knowledge that's not beneficial. Right? So seek knowledge. It is incredibly important. And one of the local imams said that his sheikh, one of his mashayikh, said the following: a man is someone who has a strong body, a sharp mind, and a soft heart. Right? This is a very well-rounded individual. Now, when a lady hears this, a man like that, oh, who's that? Where are they? And of course, the same is relevant for a woman, right? A woman is also a lady who has a strong body, but of course, a strong body for a man is different than a strong body for a woman, and a sharp mind and a soft heart. But the idea is development. We need to see the pursuit of Islamic knowledge as part of my own development. Just like I see the pursuit of halal food, halal rizq, putting good ingredients in my body, having a healthy routine, exercise as important to my development and my well-being, knowledge needs to be seen the same way. So if you're someone who spends some time in the gym or at home exercising, or you like to go hiking or whatever you do because you want to take care of your body, then dedicate an equal time to knowledge. Because don't you want your mind to be healthy as well? باب الفتية وهو واقف على الدابة وغيرها. The chapter of giving a fatwa while on one's mount or something else. Okay. So عن عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص رضي الله تعالى عنهما أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وقف في حجة الوداع بمنى للناس يسألونه فجاءه رجل فقال لم أشعر فحلقت قبل أن أذبح فقال اذبح ولا حرج فجاء آخر فقال لم أشعر فنحرت قبل أن أرمي قال ارمي ولا حرج فما سئل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن شيء قدم ولا أخر إلا قال افعل ولا حرج. So here the Prophet Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As radiallahu ta'ala anhuma says that during the Hajjat al-Wada', during the Prophet's Hajj, when he was in Mina, people would come to him and ask him questions. And he would do this, he would be asked while he's on his camel or whatever mount he was riding. They would come and they would say, Ya Rasulullah, I still haven't completed my rituals, but I cut my hair before I slaughtered a sheep. Is that okay? The Prophet ﷺ says, go slaughter your sheep, continue what you're doing, no problem. Another man came and said, Ya Rasulullah, I slaughtered before throwing the stones. The Prophet said, throw the stones, no problem. And Abdullah says that whatever the Prophet was asked on that day, in terms of I did this before this or I did that after this, the Prophet said no problem. Now there are fiqhi rulings here in terms of Hajj. I don't want to get into that. It's just to stick to the purpose of this hadith in regards to knowledge. And that is, knowledge, there are etiquettes to seeking knowledge, there are etiquettes to disseminating knowledge, right? We are in a blessed gathering where Allah is being mentioned, where the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is being distributed. And we know the hadith that whoever gathers to recite the Quran or study the Quran or to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the angels come down and Allah's sakina, His tranquility comes down, His rahmah comes down, and so on. So it's a very blessed gathering. And in different cultures, there are certain etiquettes in regards to posture, clothing, etc. Now, I'm sure you've come across somebody in the masjid sticking their feet out. And someone comes and says, don't do that, that's disrespectful. That's disrespect, don't do that, right? So what are the etiquettes? Well, here, the Prophet ﷺ was on a mount, and he was being asked, and he was giving knowledge. And what this is telling us is that there's nothing wrong with giving fatwa while on the go, over the phone, in the car. Because back then it was a camel, today it's a car. So you can imagine, I'm driving out, I say, Sheikh, I have a question. I'm sitting in the car, right? Is it disrespectful to knowledge for me to stay in my car, kind of put down the window and say, what's your question? And answer it like that on the go? Or, should I park my car, get out, go make wudu, come back, say, okay, now ask the question? Clearly not, right? So, yes, there are some etiquettes, but there is a lot of leniency. It's more important that we get the information out, because to be quite honest, if I had to get down, park my car, go make wudu and whatnot to answer your question, I'll say, ask me later. I'm just going to go now. I don't have time for that. So, there are etiquettes, but at the same time, it's not as stringent as some people might see it to be. And that's the point here. باب من أجاب الفتية بإشارة الرأس واليد. The chapter of giving a fatwa using like one's finger or the nod of a head. So عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يقبض العلم ويظهر الجهل والفتن ويكثر الهرج. قيل يا رسول الله وما الهرج؟ قال هكذا بيده فحرفه كأنه يريد القتل. In this hadith, Abu Hurairah رضي الله تعالى عنه says that the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said, knowledge will be lifted, ignorance will become widespread, and along with the ignorance will come the fitan, right, the problems, as well as al-harj. Right? And the companions didn't understand this word harj. What's this word? It's new to them. So they asked him, what is harj? The Prophet ﷺ didn't respond with a word. What did he do? He went like this. Right? What do you understand this to mean? Killing, murder, death. Right? So here the Prophet ﷺ, knowledge was taken from him through an understood gesture, right? Through body language. And the point of this chapter is to say that knowledge can be distributed, disseminated through gestures, right? So again, the example, I'm driving out, and you say, Sheikh, I wiped on my socks. Can I do salah? And I say, I do this.
Go for it.
Yeah? Go for it. Right? That's a fatwa. I gave you a fatwa using my thumbs up. You understand what it means. This is universally understood as okay. So there is no chance for misunderstanding. So knowledge can be disseminated through bodily gestures, through hand motions and whatnot. عن أسماء بنت أبي بكر رضي الله تعالى عنهما قالت أتيت عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها وهي تصلي فقلت ما شأن الناس فأشارت إلى السماء فإذا الناس قيام فقالت سبحان الله قلت آية فأشارت برأسها أي نعم فقمت حتى علاني الغشي فجعلت أصب على رأسي الماء فحمد الله النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وأثنى عليه ثم قال ما من شيء لم أكن أريته إلا أريته في مقام هذا حتى الجنة والنار. So here, Asma, daughter of Abu Bakr, so the sister of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, came to visit Aisha while she was praying. And there's something going on. Like in Medina, there's a little bit of commotion. People are behaving in a certain way. So Asma goes to her sister, the wife of the Prophet, she probably has the news. But she found Aisha praying. So Asma, she asked Aisha while she was praying, what's wrong with the people, what's going on? So while Aisha is praying, she pointed to the sky. While she was praying, she's pointing to the sky. Right? So she understood that as meaning what? Revelation came down. There's new verses, there's information coming to the Prophet ﷺ. And then Asma further clarifies, you mean a verse has come down or a miracle has come? Aisha went like this while praying, right? While praying. Okay, so what do we get from this? I don't know if this is like a joke in your neck of the woods, but in the Arab world, there's this joke of the mom who's praying, and she remembers something while praying, so she starts saying, Allahu Akbar, she starts raising her voice. Allahu Akbar. She's trying to get the attention of other people. And there's this social media skit where a lady's pretending to pray, right? She's saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And the husband is frantically looking, what's going on? Okay, is the oven on? The oven's not on. There's something in the microwave. Where are the kids? Where are this? Where are that? Until she ends prayer, right? And he's like, what's wrong? She's like, I'm trying to tell you, get the bread out of the freezer. By saying Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Right? So, what we're taking from this is the following. We know that, as the Prophet ﷺ says, speaking in salah, outside of the words of salah, from Quran and dhikr, nullifies salah. Right? So if I'm praying and someone says Assalamu alaikum, and I respond wa alaikum assalam, it's not permissible. Right? Now, we just mentioned a few minutes ago that you can take knowledge and information from gestures. I can communicate to you, I can tell you something, not using words, but using my body. Right? So it's a type of language. So the question is, if I communicate to someone using gestures, non-verbal language, do we understand that to be the same as verbal language to where it nullifies salah? The answer is no. It's not the same. Had that been the case, Aisha would not be sitting there doing this and nodding her head, responding to Aisha, or responding to her sister, right? So it is fine, especially when needed. So your child comes, Mama, you don't have to break your salah. You could point to the child in a way, like there it is, right? You can take care of it. Now, of course, we don't want to misunderstand this. Sometimes I find this, my daughter's on the ground and she's playing around looking at me and I want to respond and start playing with her. That's not what we're talking about here. Someone asks you a question, you respond to it using your gesture. And so the Prophet ﷺ then comes and he starts talking to people. He gives like a khatira or a khutbah. And he says, there is nothing that I could be shown except that I was shown it in this spot right now, even Jannah and Nar, even paradise and hellfire. فأوحي إلي أنكم تفتنون في قبوركم مثل أو قريبا من فتنة الدجال. The Prophet says that it has been said to me, Allah has told me that you will be tested in your graves, a test equivalent or close to the difficulty of the test of the Dajjal. Right? So what is this referring to? Anyone who is buried, the two angels come and they ask the person, who is your Lord? What is your religion? And who is this man? What do you say about this man named Muhammad? The believer will respond by saying, my Lord is Allah, my religion is Islam, and Muhammad is Rasulullah. While others, depending on their level of iman, some will be very quick to respond, like Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. I don't know how authentic this hadith is, but it was said that when the angels approach Umar, they'll be afraid of Umar. And Umar will be questioning them. It's like, well, who are you to question me? Right? While others, those who neglected their religious duties, they'll have more difficulty responding to it. Right? So it's a major fitna. And also it's a major fitna in a sense that how you respond determines a lot. And it's like a quick moment. If those living during the time of the Dajjal will probably never come face to face with the Dajjal. And they probably will never come face to face with the Dajjal, yet he's causing all these problems, all these challenges. And those who do come face to face with the Dajjal, it's probably just for a few minutes. It's not like this long back and forth. But in that moment, the Dajjal will try and win people over. So yeah, I'll have a lot of money. And it's said that during that time, there's a lot of famine. There are droughts everywhere. The economy is just completely collapsed. So people are hungry. And here's the Dajjal coming with all the wealth and all the money. Hey, I can alleviate all your suffering and all your problems. Come with me. It's just a moment's thing. And you have a decision to make, or those people have a decision to make. Should I go or should I not? But everything will depend on that moment. If they say, yeah, I'll go with you, that's kufr. But because he won't accept you unless you do kufr. But if you say, no, I'm not going with you, then that's paradise, bidnillahi ta'ala. يقال علمك بهذا الرجل فأما المؤمن أو الموقن فيقول هو محمد رسول الله جاءنا بالبينات والهدى فأجبناه واتبعناه هو محمد ثلاثا فيقال نم صالحا قد علمنا أن كنت لموقنا به وأما المنافق أو المرتاب فيقول لا أدري سمعت الناس يقولون شيئا فقلته. So here the rest of the hadith describes what I was just telling you. You will be asked about who is this man, Muhammad. As for the believer, they will say he is Muhammad Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. He came with the clear evidences and guidance. So we answered him and we followed him. He is Muhammad, he is Muhammad, he is Muhammad. And then it will be told to that believer, go ahead and rest. You are a righteous person, and we know that you truly believe in this man. As for the hypocrite, or the one who had doubt, their response will be, I don't know who this man is really. I heard people saying he's Rasulullah, so I said it. Right? باب الرحلة في المسألة النازلة وتعليم أهله. The chapter about traveling for the sake of information or knowledge and for the sake of teaching your family. Now the way it's worded here is that you are traveling in order to inquire about something specific. So this isn't necessarily referring to the student of knowledge who goes overseas for a few years to get a degree in Islamic studies. No, this is saying you travel somewhere to find a scholar who will answer a particular question for you. This is the chapter. So let's see what the hadith is. عن عقبة بن الحارث رضي الله تعالى عنه أنه تزوج ابنة لأبي إيهاب فأتته امرأة فقالت إني أرضعت عقبة والتي تزوج بها فقال لها عقبة ما أعلم أنك أرضعتني ولا أخبرتني فركب إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بالمدينة فسأله فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كيف وقد قيل ففارقها عقبة ونكحت زوجا غيره. So here you have an incident where Uqba, who's narrating this hadith, says that he married a woman. And then a lady came and said that she nursed both Uqba and this woman that he married. He nursed them both. Uqba said, I never heard this. My parents didn't tell me this. Back in the day, they know all this stuff. Like the women know who nursed who. They know it. Right? This isn't 100,000 people living in an area. This is a few thousand people. So they know everyone else, and they know all this history because it's important to them. So Uqba, he's surprised by this. He said, no, I've never heard this before. So he goes to the Prophet ﷺ for inquiry. And this is the point of the chapter. That you might find yourself in a situation where you don't know what to do. Here the hadith is teaching you, Bukhari is teaching you, go ask someone who will know how to guide you. Right? I can't count the amount of times I've gotten situations, had the person just asked prior to acting, they would have alleviated a lot of difficulty for themselves, a lot of problems for themselves. Right? They would have made their lives a lot easier. So knowledge is meant to solve problems. One of my teachers taught me that if you're ever asked a question, a fiqh question specifically, and your response, your position does not solve their problem, tell them you don't know and to go ask someone else. Right? Islam, fiqh, Quran, Hadith, the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, is meant to make your life easier. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمْ what? Al-Yusr. Allah wants ease for you. That's why there's guidance, to prevent the difficulties from coming to you. Right? And therefore, the religion is meant to resolve your problems. When people went to the Prophet with their problems, how did they leave? With more problems? With unresolved problems? No, with their problems resolved. Right? Of course, the Prophet is the Prophet. No one can ever be that effective, alayhi salatu wasalam. But the point here is, knowledge, fatwa, fiqh is meant to resolve problems. So you can do yourself a good favor that if you have a problem, a situation you don't know, to find the right person who can give you the right answer. Now, it's easier said than done. I understand it's not easy to find that person. But here, Bukhari is saying to even travel to find that person. They are there somewhere. Right? If Musa a.s. traveled to meet a man so that he can learn a little bit more, some of the early Muslims would travel a month, an entire month, to verify a chain of narrators. Right? We don't have to travel a month to verify a chain of narrators. We could go on Google and find it. But the idea is, it's worth your time. We have to have that spirit. Now, with Zoom, I don't mean to put anyone down. I'm not trying to put anyone down. So many people say, I'll just watch it on YouTube. Yeah, I'm not going to go to the masjid. I'll just go ahead and watch it. Some people don't even come to Jummah anymore because they live stream it.
Really?
Yeah.
That doesn't fulfill the obligation.
No, it doesn't fulfill the obligation. It doesn't. Even if they're, somebody who cannot come to the masjid due to a physical situation. They had to pray dhuhr. They're welcome to watch, like they're welcome to learn, but they had to pray dhuhr. It's not Jummah prayer. Right, so we really, especially here in Southern California, we don't have this spirit of knowledge is so important to me that I should actually travel to get it. If a big star sheikh comes, everybody comes, yeah, let's watch it. But if you have an equally, maybe even more beneficial lecture, nobody comes. Right? That's an incorrect way of approaching it, a very unhealthy way of approaching it. If you have a problem, fiqh is meant to resolve that. And as I was mentioning, one of my teachers said, if your fatwa does not resolve their problem, tell them to go ask someone else. Because that's the point. So Uqba, he lives this spirit. He's like, no, I'm going to go figure this out. He goes to the Prophet ﷺ. They inquire, and it turns out that, no, that lady was wrong. She didn't nurse both of these individuals. Right? So at this point, what is the ruling of their marriage? It's fine.
It's fine?
The lady was wrong. She didn't nurse them both. Right? But when Uqba asks the Prophet, he inquires about the Prophet. He says, Ya Rasulullah, this is my situation. What does the Prophet tell him? Memorize this, because it's a principle for life. He says, Kayfa wa qad qeel. How can you continue this marriage when everybody's saying you're related through nursing?
Even after it was clarified?
Even after he knew it was wrong, everybody else thought what? It is the case. This is a huge wisdom.
Can you say that again, the same thing?
كيف وقد قيل. How can you continue this when everybody's saying what you're doing is wrong? Right? This has real life implications. I'll give you one example. Without getting into names or details, basically recently there was this group who wanted to partner with another group about an issue. This group has a certain reputation. They're accused of certain things, right? That to the community is very bad. They deny it. Say, no, this isn't true. All of it is fabricated, taken out of context, etc. And so there's this back and forth between the community leaders saying, should we or should we not? And my advice was, how can you work with someone who everybody thinks, or huge parts of the community think that they're wrong and they're corrupt? Even if it's wrong, right now we have to understand what is the reality. Even if we know through our own inquiry that what they are accused of is completely baseless, everybody else sees it as what? As it true. And that will trickle into, your group as well. Kayfa waqad qil. How can you go about this when it's become widespread? That they are of a certain, they have certain behaviors that are despised by the believers. Kayfa waqad qil. So Uqba, he left his wife, he divorced her, and she married someone else. Right? Now what are we thinking? How can he divorce her? And that's so bad. First of all, it's early in the marriage. If, they might not have even had their wedding night, so to speak. That's one. So it's more like they broke off an engagement, in our terms today. Number two, back then, marriage and divorce were easy. It was very easy. Didn't work out, she got married right away. To go back to her father's home, goes get married. Very normal, very easy. That's how it was. That's how it should be. So in our times today, divorce is destruction. Property splitting, money, lawyers, months, if not years of divorce, and the damage it does to the kids, and all the work, and it's destruction. It wasn't like that back in the day. Easy in, easy out. It was as easy to get divorced back then as it was to get married. Right? And that's how it should be, so that people are encouraged to get married. They come out with these divorce rates, right? In America, it's like a 55% divorce rate. Other places, 30, 50, whatever. Right? And yeah, that's bad. We don't want that. But what makes it bad isn't the percentage. What makes it bad is the damage it does to those involved. Or else if it was easy in, easy out, it works out sometimes, doesn't work out sometimes. It's not as big of a deal. But in our times today, when parents get divorced, it has such a profound impact on the kids. Yeah, we really want to get those divorce rates down. We really do. Well, back in the day, when there's divorce, it doesn't really impact the children that much, because in the same day, they're by their mom, they're by their father. They're in the same neighborhood. They're within walking distance. They're still there, right? So just make sure that we have that contextualization correct. But the point here is, if you have a situation, ask people, but ask the right people. Because there are some people you might ask who will harm you and damage you because of their inexperience. It might not come out of a bad place, but they're inexperienced. They're not the right people to ask. It's like when a married woman asks a woman who's never been married about marriage advice. It doesn't work. Right? Even if they studied like marriage and family therapy, knowledge is important, that's good. There's experience as well. Right? Marriage isn't just theories and philosophies. It's actual people behaving with each other, acting with each other, who have different personalities, different ways of seeing things, different backgrounds. Anyway. Bab at-tanawubi fil ilm. This is a chapter of alternating in the pursuit of knowledge. I'll explain what that means here in a second. عن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنه قال كنت أنا وجار لي من الأنصار في بني أمية بن زيد وهي من عوالي المدينة وكنا نتناوب النزول على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ينزل يوما وأنزل يوما فإذا نزلت جئته بخبر ذلك اليوم من الوحي وغيره وإذا نزل فعل مثل ذلك So here Umar radiallahu ta'ala an says that he was a business partner with somebody from the Ansar. And their location, where they did business, was at the higher elevations of Medina. Now, when you look at Medina, if you come from the outskirts, you'll find that Medina, like the city center, is a lot lower elevation than the outskirts. Right? So Medina is more like in an enclave, like this. So Umar was on the higher part, him and his business partner. And it was just too difficult for both of them to go learn and come back and do their business. So they agreed that they will alternate. One day, Umar will go down and learn for the day, and the other day, the other one, the Ansari, will go down and learn for the day. Whoever goes to learn, it is their responsibility to go back and teach the other one. Right? And teach the other one. فنزل صاحبي الأنصاري يوم نوبته فضرب بابي ضربا شديدا فقال أثم هو ففزعت فخرجت إليه فقال حدث أمر عظيم فدخلت على حفصة فإذا هي تبكي فقلت أطلقكن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قالت لا أدري ثم دخلت على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقلت وأنا قائم أطلقت نساءك قال لا فقلت الله أكبر. So one day the Ansari, it was his turn to go. He came back and he started banging on the door very frantically. So Umar knew there's something going on. So he got up quickly and said, what's wrong, what's wrong? And the man said, something big has happened. Right? Something big has happened. So I don't know why, maybe there's some cut in the hadith where the Ansari actually explains to Umar what happened, but Umar then says that I immediately went to my daughter Hafsa, right? And she was there crying. And so Umar asked, did the Prophet divorce you? And did he divorce all his wives? And so Hafsa said, I don't know. So Umar immediately goes to the Prophet ﷺ and asks him. And Umar has this personality. Abu Bakr wasn't like this. Umar, when something's on his mind, he does it. Right? Prophet, not prophet, of course respectfully, but that's just his personality. So he goes and he immediately asks the Prophet, did you divorce your wives? And the Prophet said no. And then Umar said, Allahu Akbar. Now, there's a difference of opinion regarding whether the Prophet divorced Hafsa or not. Some scholars said that the Prophet did divorce Hafsa, but returned her. So it wasn't a complete divorce, just one divorce that he returned her in. So when the Prophet died, Hafsa was still his wife. But what's interesting is that we really don't know what happened. We don't have the information. We don't know if it's true that the Prophet did divorce Hafsa. We don't know why. Now Hafsa, her personality was like her father. She was confrontational. When the Prophet would say something that she didn't take well, she would respond. That's how she was. That's her personality. Aisha was the same way as well. Right? But we don't know why. Now, why is this important? Because we're being taught. We know everything about the Prophet ﷺ. His wives did not hide things. It is one of their roles, as per the Quran, as Allah says, وَاذْكُرْنَ مَا يُتْلَى فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. Allah addressing the wives of the Prophet, He tells them, teach others what was taught in your homes. So we know like almost everything about even the private life of the Prophet ﷺ, but we don't know, again, if it's authentic, we don't know why the Prophet divorced Hafsa. But that is the lesson. That is the lesson. What happens at home should what? Stay at home. What happens at home should stay at home. Right? The conversations at home should stay at home. What about the kids? They go out and there's a saying in Arabic, take their secrets from their kids. Yeah. Right? Well, there's an easy solution to that. Tell your kids, they understand. Wallahi, they understand. Tell your kids, don't say, this is a private place, right? This is our secret. Of course, to use words that is interesting to them. They like secrets. Hey, I have a secret mission for you. Oh, that's cool. Or if it's a daughter, I have a secret for you. Daughters love secrets, right? Whatever happens at home, don't tell anyone. That's it, right? Don't go to social media and start posting, I did this with my wife, and I did that with my husband, and we went to this restaurant, and everything like this. Part of the beauty of the relationship between husband and wife is that it's meant to be private. Between us. It's for us. By us, for no one else. Alright? Allah Ta'ala alam. Go ahead and stop there. Sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. We reached hadith number 79.